As the Moon Boys eagerly await the coming of the next bone-breaking, toilet-shattering pump, something tells me it's about to get sloppy. So if you realize something big is coming, hit that like and subscribe, get signed up with Femex or BITUNIX below if you want to buy Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. Without any further ado, let's jump into today, where we see in just moments, and by the time you're watching this, potentially it's already happened, but the new crypto czar is about to hold a press conference today on digital assets. David Sachs will be discussing some things that are very likely to be, how do I put this lightly, quite big. And before we really dump into the price, I want to actually highlight something maybe a little controversial. Everybody in crypto that has bought altcoins in the past 2 years is feeling maximum pain, right? People are, I see it every day. My comments are full of people that are upset that the altcoins haven't pumped. But you know what's even more maximum pain is a different scenario where Bitcoin, in fact, might change. Let's say that the cycles start diverting. The famous saying, this time is different. Well, guys, that's the thing. It's not different until it is. And fundamentally, it's very important. I'm not saying that this time is different, but all I'm saying is that if you refuse to believe that it's possible that this time is different, I think you might be a little surprised, because fundamentally things are different. Okay, Bitcoin spot ETFs, a fundamentally different thing. A pro crypto administration in the US, fundamentally, we've never seen it before. So at the very least, it's not only reasonable, it's necessary to at least consider the option, the possibility that this time might actually be different. This might be an inflection point. Just like many assets, including the S&P or Microsoft stock, Nvidia, Apple stock, there were periods of diminishing returns, just like Bitcoin has been seeing diminishing returns over its decade plus of trading. When you used to be able to expect 1,000x, then 100x only, then maybe only a 10x. There very likely is going to be a time where diminishing returns ends and we hit an inflection point and we start going up and up and up, higher and higher than people think, and people are shocked by it. And potentially, you know what would be maximum pain? What would be maximum pain is people that have spent the last decade in Bitcoin and they think they have the game mastered. And they think, okay, well, I'm going to sell exactly at this point, exactly this X amount of days after the halving, which is when it has always topped out. I'm going to cash everything out and I'm going to be on my merry way. And then I'll buy exactly in 2 years at the bottom of the next bear market and ride it all up and do the same thing over and over for infinity and beyond and be a trillionaire, right? All I'm saying is maximum pain, another maximum pain scenario, is that things fundamentally shift and you sell your Bitcoin for, let's say, $300,000 per Bitcoin at the end of 2025. And then you're checking the charts maybe in 2026. And what if Bitcoin didn't crash? What if it's at 500K? Because countries started allocating to new reserves, strategic reserves, or BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF just keeps doing really well and more, let's say we go on a trajectory like that. I'm not saying that's not my base case, but all I'm saying is that's a very real possibility that a lot of people, especially people that have been in this space for a long time, a lot of people don't think is even possible. And all I'm saying is it is consensus view that this time is not different. Is it possible that this time, because fundamentally this time is different, but will it actually show up on the charts as well? Will we break the technicals? Will the cycles fundamentally change and this time be actually different? I don't know. Nobody does. All I'm saying is it's a very real possibility that I'm considering. And I'll be honest, if you would have asked me that a year ago, I would not have really considered it. But I've seen so many things change over the last year specifically, and even in the past month or two specifically, that I'm starting to believe that it could happen. There are sometimes inflection points, especially with technology, and Bitcoin is technology. I think it's a possibility. Now, we already are, this is not like a crazy thing, we already are seeing somewhat of a decoupling, right? We talked about this a week ago. You can see the crypto market, altcoins, have been getting completely bamboozled, not really doing very well. And look at what Bitcoin has been doing, specifically over the past couple of months. It has been going up, while altcoins have just been doing nothing. Altcoins have just been getting banged, and that's really upsetting to people. Now, if this goes on for a couple more months, this truly is different because altcoins should have pumped way more, at least if we look at historically what's happened. So again, I just think that it's a scenario that you have to consider, that with ETFs, and again, if we truly get nations buying Bitcoin for the first time ever, guys, how is that? That's literally like the only thing that would make this time be different. So even though the chances of this time being different are very low, we are positioned right now in the perfect environment where that actually could happen. And keep in mind, as I just said, a lot of people don't have Bitcoin, which I was surprised to find out over the past couple of months, because a lot of people are upset their altcoins aren't pumping. And I say it all the time, and I read the comments all the time. The amount of comments that I've gotten of people saying, Tyler, nobody's upset that Bitcoin isn't pumping. We're upset because altcoins are doing nothing. I've read that comment thousands of times, basically, or some version of that comment, which then I learned, oh, wow, I guess a lot of people aren't not invested in Bitcoin, even though they're invested in altcoins. So maximum pain. Now, I actually want to pivot for a second and talk about this. If you haven't figured it out by now, the government is a huge mafia that launders taxpayer money right back to themselves through foreign aid and endless wars. They hate you and couldn't care less of you, right? So they really don't care. And that leads to this. If you look back thousands of years ago, there's this concept of slavery, right? And we basically have a similar system now when it comes to this. The median US taxpayer pays about 25% income tax. All of these taxes, tax on your income, sales tax, property tax, gas tax, basically infinite taxes. I don't know anybody with a fraction of a brain that likes getting taxed, by the way. Actually, ironically enough, the people that are okay with taxes are usually people that are poor or making like very, very low, like doing the lowest income jobs and relying on government subsidies and all this stuff. Nobody actually successful and educated is like, man, I love getting taxed all the time, right? And it's also like not a very controversial thing, or it shouldn't be. It's basically just Stockholm syndrome. Like if you like getting taxed, you just don't realize that you actually don't, but you're just brainwashed to like it. I mean, yeah, sure. Try to make an argument why you actually work for money that you end up losing a significant portion of it to taxes. I don't know why anybody would like that. But really, if we look at it, like this is how taxes started. 100 years ago, 2% of households paid income tax. As it says here, this is how new taxes start. They claim it only applies to a small percentage to gain a lot of vote, but then it rapidly evolves and covers everyone. So people are so used to being taxed that they don't realize how bad it is. And it's not like a necessary thing, meaning like the taxes on everything don't need to be that way. People just have such severe Stockholm syndrome that they think, oh, tax is good, take more of my money, because they're brainwashed. And it's the simplest, in my opinion, example of brainwashing. Again, why would you actively want to work for less capital, right? Because if you're getting taxed more and more, you have less and less of that capital you're working for. Why would you want that? Unless you're brainwashed. That's the only way that you would actually be okay with that. And so same thing with this. Property tax, right? You could pay off your entire house. In fact, people pay it off. But if you don't pay your property taxes, you can lose your house. Because you don't actually own your house. You don't own the land. You should be able to, right? But that's why this is modern day slavery. It doesn't matter how much money you make, you always have to pay those property taxes because you don't own the land. Why don't you own the land? Because you're not actually, it's not free. It's not a free system. The system is meant to keep I'm going off a little bit, but the whole point of this is that I think that a lot of people have been shocked over the last couple of days like the last week or so, because the Trump administration is going after these things that have always been the norm. However, what most people don't realize is that if some of these things would change, if the IRS would get defunded, if let's say this crazy idea, what if you could actually own your land, like in the US? Wouldn't that be amazing? What if you bought a house, you paid it off, and then it was yours, and you didn't have to keep paying it, and there was no risk of it getting taken from you by the government? Wouldn't that be a good thing? If you're listening to me right now and you're thinking, no, I want to pay forever, and then if I don't pay, I want it to get taken from me, you need to like go to a therapist to be, I mean, that's crazy, man. Like, might as well, it's just shooting yourself in the foot. Nobody in their right mind would actively be like, yeah, of course, I don't ever want to own my house. I always want to be in debt. I always want to be at risk of losing my house. And if you disagree with that, I feel like this is the most black and white, easily agreeable thing. But I know for a fact there's some people, some potato brains out there watching this and thinking, actually, I want to pay for my house for the rest of my life and never pay it off. I want to be in debt forever. And that's why we're in the spot we're in, because there are people that exist. It's crazy to me. Absolutely delusional. For the 7th time this year, Bitcoin funding rate has turned negative. All 6 previous instances signaled a bullish momentum switch. And it just happened again. Whenever these Bitcoin futures perpetual funding rates turn negative, things have gotten bullish. And I think we're about to see the same thing shortly here. We look at yearly candles for Bitcoin. You see usually 3 green years and then a red one. 2026, as I said earlier in the video, is likely to be a red one unless things drastically change. It's possible. But this year should be a green one. In fact, the most green. All of the Bitcoin liquidity is sitting at the top side. We all know what is next. Very big. Short liquidations incoming soon. We also see this. I never thought I would say this, but too many lawmakers want to run Bitcoin bills. We can barely keep up with demand. The country is rapidly changing. It is. The narrative is changing. I don't understand why, if you're watching this video and you own Bitcoin, this should be exciting to you. That we have an administration that is actively not trying to cripple you. Crazy to me. People vote against their own interest all the time. Slightly less than half of the country voted to screw themselves over when it comes to crypto, and honestly, a lot of other ways that they're a little disillusioned about. We also see FTX repayments start in just about 2 weeks. So much liquidity will flow into the market, extremely bullish for Bitcoin and altcoins. This could be a game changer, big time. We have to wait and see if this actually has a strong impact on the market. There's a lot of people, including even Charles Hoskinson, saying that February should be a very bullish month. If we look cyclically at Bitcoin cycles, altcoins and Bitcoin should be doing really good right about February, like right about now. Again, if things are different this time and maybe this cycle is extended or like right translated and we end up going higher for longer in terms of price, that's possible. But as you can see, I mean, nothing's really pumping today, at least at the time of recording. Will this first crypto czar press conference be very bullish for Bitcoin? It's possible. By the time you're watching this, maybe price is going up a lot. Maybe it's going sideways. Maybe it's going down. I don't know. You're in the future, actually. If you're watching this video, you have access to information that I don't have because I'm in the past. This is pre-recorded. I recorded it on February 4th before the meeting. But overall, I mean, the DXY is actually dumping today. Interesting to look at. S&P is holding right on its 21 and 50-day moving averages. Bitcoin is also just sitting right on its 50-day moving average. Nothing, it's pretty sideways today, to be completely transparent. It's just a very sideways day. Alts are down a little bit, but nothing substantial. But realistically, I think this meeting will be interesting. And overall, I think this is a very spring-loaded setup we have right now for the Bitcoin market. And honestly, guys, I haven't been, as you know, I don't make a ton of altcoin content. I usually cover altcoins at least in some form in these videos, but primarily it's Bitcoin. But honestly, maybe leave your comment below on what do you think is going to happen to altcoins, because I'm a little bit at a loss. I personally think they are going to pump, but it is kind of crazy how badly altcoins across the board are performing. And that's what this chart also represents. Like, altcoins across the board have just been doing like awfully. They look like they don't want to pump. And as I said, like, that's usually what it looks like before they do start pumping. But man, there's really like not even a pulse on altcoins. And as you guys know, I'm pretty invested in altcoins. I have a lot of Bitcoin, but as well, a significant portion of my portfolio is altcoins. So obviously, I'm also incentivized and biased. I want them to pump as well. But it is kind of crazy watching these altcoins really just underperform. I'm watching Bitcoin right now. It's down about 2%. All these other top alts down between 5 to 10%. At least the top ones that I have on the side of my screen here. Yeah, on average about 5 to 10%. When are the alts going to pump? That is the $1 trillion question. And get signed up with Femex or BITUNIX below if you want Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. We thought it was really good.